Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at something you probably did this morning without even giving it a second thought. I mean, even if it was literally just walking from the couch to the fridge. We're going to explore the absolutely surprising, multifaceted power of a simple walk. You know, we so often think of walking as just this mundane way to get from point A to point B, or maybe a mild form of exercise if we happen to have some spare time. But as we'll see, the latest research shows it is so much more than that.
$104.85. According to a recent report by the Blockchain Research Lab, that is the exact economic value generated for an individual by a single day of walking 10,000 steps. Think about that. Every single day you hit that mark, you are essentially generating over $100 in value through reduced healthcare costs, increased productivity, and longevity. It's a real game changer.
So this brings us to a really fascinating question. What if the ultimate biohack, a massive economic stimulus, and a highly effective climate solution was completely free? In this explainer, we're going to take a bit of a journey. We'll start by zooming all the way in, looking at the microscopic changes happening inside your body when you take a walk. And then we're going to zoom all the way out to see the massive macro impacts on our global economy, our environment, and how our cities are actually built.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, your body's ultimate medicine, and start by looking at your cellular health.
So what's really interesting is what happens inside your joints the second you start moving. The Arthritis Foundation points out that our joints are surrounded by the soft tissue called the synovial membrane. When you walk, that physical activity directly stimulates the production of synovial fluid. Honestly, think of it exactly like engine oil for your bones. It lubricates the joints, prevents that awful stiffness, and keeps everything moving smoothly. Without movement, the oil simply doesn't flow.
Experts actually call this the sponge effect. Every time you take a step, your body weight bears down on your joints, and it forces water molecules out of your cartilage, literally like squeezing a wet sponge. Then when you lift your foot, the water rushes back in, bringing fresh oxygen and vital nutrients. Plus, this exertion triggers a biological process called autophagy. Basically, it's your cells taking out the trash, breaking down and completely removing damaged cells in the joint.
And because of this continuous nutrient delivery and cellular cleanup, the structural benefits to your body are absolutely staggering. Regular walking can actually reduce the risk of hip fractures by up to 43% in postmenopausal women. 43%! It's not just about burning calories here. You are actively reinforcing the structural integrity of your skeleton with every single step.
Moving right along, let's look at Section 2, the sleep and immune connection. We all know walking tires you out, right? But the connection between that physical exertion and your nighttime recovery is absolutely vital for your immune system. A study from the Dasman Diabetes Institute looked at just one single day of 24-hour sleep deprivation in young, otherwise completely healthy individuals. They found that missing out on that sleep altered their immune cells, specifically their monocytes, to mimic the exact same chronic inflammation profile we see in individuals with obesity. That's why exercise-induced sleep is so incredibly critical. It literally resets your immune defense.
And here's how that sleep works on a chemical level. Recent findings from UC Berkeley mapped out this highly precise brain feedback loop. During deep, non-REM sleep, which, remember, is the kind of sleep driven by physical activity, a signal called somatostatin drops, while another signal called GHRH rises. Why does this matter to us? Well, because this specific combination unlocks the release of growth hormones. These hormones are essential for muscle repair, fat metabolism, and cognitive clarity. Without the physical exertion of something like a daily walk to drive that deep sleep, this entire hormone rhythm just gets totally disrupted.
Okay, let's zoom out to the macro scale for Section 3, the hidden wealth of walking, and look at the real economic value. Remember, we started by mentioning that $104 daily figure? Well, when you compound that over a whole year, hitting your daily step goals generates a staggering $38,270 in annual financial benefit per person. And this isn't some imaginary funny money. It stems directly from very real healthcare savings, a drastically reduced risk of mortality, and significantly higher workplace productivity. Just look at the impact when we apply this scale to a national level. If a whole population becomes more active, researchers estimate a 4.1% reduction in national healthcare costs. We also see a 2.2% boost in workforce productivity simply because people take fewer sick days and have way better focus. Overall, this can generate an additional 1.56% in national GDP growth. A population that walks directly eases the crushing financial strain on employers and government health programs. Now, actually, scratch that anxiety you might be feeling if you don't always hit 10,000 steps. Let's take a deep breath.
the 10,000-step rule is kind of a bit of a myth. While it's a fantastic goal, massive health and economic benefits, like significant reductions in the risk for heart disease, depression, dementia, and type 2 diabetes, actually kick in at just 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day. You definitely don't need to be a marathon runner to unlock this stuff. Every single step counts.
Next up is Section 4, Saving the Planet on Foot, where we explore the ecological domino effect. When we actually choose to walk instead of driving for those short journeys, we kick off an incredible ecological domino effect. Yes, of course, it eliminates fossil fuel emissions, which we all know, but it also increases the demand for traffic-free green spaces, which actively absorb CO2 from the atmosphere. By keeping our travel footprint small, we protect biodiversity from urban sprawl. And here's a super cool one from the Walk Wheel Cycle Trust. Walking reduces vehicle engine noise. Less noise pollution means local wildlife doesn't have to alter its behavior or abandon its habitats just to survive. So walking actively helps wildlife thrive.
Data from the UN Economic Commission for Europe paints this super stark contrast. When you drive a car, it actively extracts a cost from society, roughly 0.074 euros per kilometer in external costs, like pollution and infrastructure wear and tear. But when you walk, you actually generate a net financial benefit of 0.095 euros per kilometer for your community. You are literally enriching your environment with your feet.
Which brings us to our final, and honestly perhaps most crucial point, Section 5, the built environment factor.
We've seen all these incredible benefits, but here's the massive catch. Your ability to actually access them is largely dictated by how your city is built. The 15-minute city model is designed so basic amenities are just a short walk from your front door. Contrast that with car-centric sprawl, where everything is zoned so far apart you are basically forced to drive. Car-dependent infrastructure literally blocks the natural movement your body evolved to need.
A massive study analyzing minute-by-minute smartphone data from over 5,400 people found something mind-blowing. When a person moves from a less walkable city to a more walkable neighborhood, their daily activity automatically increases by over 1,100 brisk steps. They didn't necessarily join a gym, they didn't hire a trainer, their environment simply changed.
Dr. Tim Althoff, the lead researcher on that study out of the University of Washington, hit the nail on the head. He noted that we often treat a lack of exercise as a personal failure of willpower, but motivation is only part of the equation. Our physical surroundings act as this massive, invisible hand guiding our daily behavior.
Andrew Dannenberg, an author and urban planning expert, takes this a step further. He says, give people places to walk and they will walk. Public health does not build sidewalks. This highlights such a crucial intersection. If we want all those amazing biological, immune, and economic benefits we talked about earlier, public health officials need to work directly with urban planners and developers. Real health interventions require funding concrete physical infrastructure.
And what does that infrastructure actually look like? Well, it's not just slapping down a strip of concrete next to a highway and calling it a day. High-quality walkability means the route is safe, comfortable, and accessible to absolutely everyone. It requires beautiful street trees for shade, adequate lighting for safety, curb ramps for wheelchairs and strollers, and reduced speed limits so pedestrians aren't in constant danger. It's the whole shebang. It's about creating an inviting place where people actually want to spend their time.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. We have seen the data. Walking lubricates our joints, it balances our immune-regulating sleep hormones, saves our national economies billions of dollars, and creates quieter, greener environments. Walking truly is the ultimate medicine. So look around your city today and ask yourself, is your neighborhood actively prescribing this medicine, or is it withholding it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it inspires you to take a closer look at your surroundings. And hey, maybe even take a quick walk today. See you next time.